There's an incredible passion behind this project, which I don't think I've ever witnessed to this extent on any film I've ever had the privilege to work on.
It's such an adventure.
One man, one ring to rule them all.
One-way ticket to Middle-earth. You'd step off a plane and you'd be in the movie.
In the lands of Middle-earth, legend tells of the Dark Lord Sauron and the ring that would give him the power to enslave the world. Lost for centuries, it has been sought by many and has now found its way into the hands of the most unlikely person imaginable.
Hobbits are a breed of people from the Shire, which is kind of the rural sort of countryside of Middle-earth. Really gorgeous and kind of untouched by any kind of human or other being. And hobbits are generally quite small. About 3'6" is the kind of described height of Frodo, the main hobbit in the Lord of the Rings. They're just sort of rural people. There's an innocence about hobbits. They don't know about the sort of evils of the world.
Frodo Baggins, who is a hobbit himself, undertakes this incredibly dangerous, arduous journey to try and rid the world of evil. Frodo really doesn't have an understanding of the greater world. I mean, he doesn't know about good and evil per se. He just knows that his people and their lifestyle is under a huge threat. When you read The Lord of the Rings, the world of Middle-earth is obviously very important for Tolkien. He describes it in detail. He's obviously written books beyond just the story of Lord of the Rings, which discuss the history of Middle-earth, and he's created a mythological world which has the most extraordinary depth. But it's also important that the film is far more than just a bunch of characters in costumes walking around in a New Zealand landscape. So we have taken an enormous amount of care to try and build a cultural history to the peoples of Middle-earth.
Lord of the Rings is a mythology, it is a fairy tale, it's an adventure story. It never happened, except somewhere in our hearts. And yet there was Hobbit in 3 dimensions and smoke coming out of the holes where they live underground. And I believed.
At the end of the day, Middle-earth is its own character. Middle-earth is the strongest character in the stories of Lord of the Rings. So I was very aware that we had to create an expansive world, something that would spread beyond the 4 corners of the movie screen.
This is Middle-earth. I mean, it has every sort of geographical, geological, formation, landscape. It's got everything.
I think that New Zealand, in a lot of ways, is the ideal place to shoot these, the films, because the landmass is so young and so savage and so untamed and unruly, and which is what makes it special.
New Zealand is ideally suited to bringing Lord of the Rings to the screen because Tolkien wrote the book as a mythic prehistory. It was supposed to take place in a Europe that existed in a dark age that we've long since forgotten. And so from that point of view, we wanted a European type landscape, but with qualities that were familiar yet strange, a slightly surreal version of Europe.
It would be tempting to think you could make the film in England, but you know, there is nothing left in England that hasn't been touched by subsequent civilization. But here in New Zealand, there is acres of England as it once was, and as Tolkien might have wanted it to be as a setting for his story.
We explored the country, north, south, east and west, and found this little pocket.
I mean, this is a great view down through here, though, too.
We went up there on a location recce on a Saturday, but long before we started shooting, Alan Lee and John Howe came with us, and we basically walked over this farmer's land. So one of the things that Alan and John did is they'd sit down on this farmer's land with a notepad, and they would sketch the landscape that they were looking at, except they would sketch it as Hobbiton. So suddenly they would be adding little hobbit holes and little cabbage patches and washing lines and hedges and things. So we were able to walk around this farm with John and Alan literally bringing Hobbiton to life on paper.
Alan Lee and John Howe both are the two conceptual artists that have illustrated most Tolkien's books. The fans of the novel, the image that they carry with them, it's partially aided by the imagery created by John Howe and Alan Lee.
From the work that they did that day, we made some key decisions about where we would want to place Hobbiton, and we decided at that point that we'd found the ideal location.
The environments do become a character. That's the way of designing films, really. You are looking for ways to tell the story in so many different ways, you know, not just the way that people are telling the story and acting out the story, but architecture becomes the story.
Why haven't we thought of this before? To live, you know, like this, why does everything have to be, you know, straight lines? You just find it very comforting and relaxing.
I said that, look, one of the things that's essential with Hobbiton is that this place has to look like hobbits have lived here for hundreds of years. And so we actually started to plant vegetables in the gardens of Hobbiton about a year before our filming. This is probably one of the most extensive pre-production periods a set has ever had. It was a year spent just allowing Hobbiton to sort of germinate and seed and become a real place.
Hobbiton, where the hobbits live, was the first outdoor location that I went to, and I immediately had total confidence that this film was doing things the right way, because it was so believable.
Lord of the Rings is obviously about a struggle between good and evil, but that's kind of simplistic and a little bit boring. I mean, lots of films are about good and evil, but what makes Lord of the Rings interesting is the hobbits.
Done.
You're supposed to stick it in the ground.
It is in the ground.
Outside.
That was your idea.
Hobbits are a pastoral, sort of an agrarian species, a settled community, a group of folks who enjoy their stories and their ale and their tobacco.
They love to eat, they love life, you know, they're very passionate people. Hobbits at nature tend to want to stay in the Shire. They don't want to leave the Shire. They want to be safe. They want to be where they're comfortable. They don't want to have, you know, the idea of any sort of danger. So they maintain almost this childlike innocence.
Today is my 111th birthday.
I regret to announce this is the end.
To become a hobbit, each day takes about 2.5 hours, maybe 3, normally starting with feet. To get the feet on, it takes, like, you have to stand up for, like, over an hour. So that at 4:30 in the morning is a bit sort of...
Whoa. I mean, I think that the feet are all good, guys. I think, you know, we just have to watch that jiggle. Everything's working well apart from that little vibration that sometimes kicks in. I think that love of the hobbits is really the key value that's at stake in the film. What drives Frodo to attempt to achieve this very difficult task is his love of his people, the hobbits. And I think for Frodo it's very personal. He is doing what he's doing because he wants to save his people and his land.
You are a ring bearer, Frodo. To bear a ring of power is to be alone.
I like the idea that the whole of the story, the whole of the fate of the hobbits should depend on something as small and relatively insignificant as a gold band.
The ring was made in the fires of Mount Doom.
It's a big thing, Lord of the Rings. Most of us as children know the story, and to actually see it being made here is, you know, great fun. I guess we can always say, well, we made the rings for the Lord of the Rings.
The film is a mythic quest to destroy a ring which will rid the world of a great evil. The ring in Tolkien's mind represents the machine, is what he always said. And by saying it represents a machine, it represents something that takes away your free will.
The journey that Frodo takes is to undo a huge evil. And could we do that in this modern day? Could we knowingly unmake something that we know should never have come into being?
It's the story of 4 hobbits who go on this journey, but it's 4 hobbits and a ring. It's actually 5 characters. Richard Taylor has also been one of the single most important people involved on this production. And Richard's design department has really led the charge in creating the different cultures of the various races of Middle-earth.
The first thing that I realised I had to do was hire experts in the fields of armour and weapons manufacture. So we employed a very skilled swordsmith who has hand ground all of the live steel, spring steel blades for all of the hero weapons, hollow ground them as they were done hundreds of years ago, and in doing so captured the shapes that were possible through the same process in past years. One of the most important things to me was that we generated a very strong feeling of culture. Culture, I believe, is based in detail. It's based in generations of characters, of people, of species, building on top of the past generation's work.
We're developing a bottle for the Prancing Pony interior, just trying to create a shape that's unique for us. You know, I don't want someone sitting in the cinema and looking at our props and dressings and saying, oh my God, I've got a set of 6 of those at home.
The audience hopefully will gain a richer and more fulfilled perspective of the cultures that have gone on for thousands of years to generate the moment in time that we are shown in the period of the film.
So nice and loose.
And action. He's over there. Frodo Baggins. He's my second cousin, once removed on his mother's side, and my third cousin twice removed. Pippin! Steady on, Frodo!
Bree is, in the books and in the movies, the first time that the hobbits really have a sense of having gone beyond place of safety and comfort and have ventured into, have begun an adventure, I suppose, that is perilous.
How do we know this Strider is a friend of Gandalf?
We have no choice but to trust him. But where is he leading us?
Viggo has totally embraced the culture that surrounds the use of a sword.
This is the sword that he carries before he gets Narsil. And he carries this through the wilderness with him and in the early stages of the film. And the grip is long enough that it can be held with two hands.
Viggo treats his sword as if his life does depend on it. The workshop celebrate in this dedication and focus to performance detail.
What can I say about Viggo? He is the most dedicated, the most athletic, the best swordsman I've ever trained.
Bob Anderson put me through a real crash course as soon as I got here. He's amazing. Obviously a remarkable swordsman, but he's a great teacher. I mean, strict, you know, but very helpful and encouraging and patient. I mean, I learned a lot from him.
He never stops learning. He's always ready to listen, and he's always ready to train.
The world is a better place having the elves here. They are very artistic, they're very beautiful, that they really have given Earth a lot of its joy and its beauty.
Elves were the firstborn, so they're the oldest and the wisest of the speaking races in Middle-earth. They're ageless and they're immortal.
They have a hyper-keen sense of sight and hearing and a beautiful relationship with nature, and they're just sort of very powerful.
We've also tried to move away from the concept that elves are like fairies. They are, in fact, can be very dangerous and very perilous creatures.
Will you look into the mirror?
What will I see?
Even the wisest cannot tell, for the mirror shows many things. Things that were, things that are, and some things that have not yet come to pass.
The way the films are being told is incredibly real. There's a culture that truly exists. You can sense the history and the present as well as the future of each of those groups of peoples.
Trying to design a film set for the elves in the same way that the elves would have designed their own habitation, which is very much part of nature in the forest, and building around the trees rather than bulldozing them.
The Lothlorien city, Caras Gladahon, where they dwell, is a city that is built around these huge malorn trees, massive, the biggest trees that have ever existed.
Elves represent an unfallen race of people. Their architecture, I suppose, would be as immortal as they are. They would hence have a lot of time to play around with detail, you could say.
I just remember stepping onto the set in Rivendell and seeing it all come to life, and extremely beautiful. To speak of the passion of the filmmaker and everyone else involved, it's in those little details.
The elves are in the autumn of their years. They're leaving Middle-earth to go to the sacred lands. They know that the passage of their time is drawing to a close. That the colours definitely felt like the wash of autumn had befallen the elves and it was time to move on.
Definitely been ground rules that we've had to do with elves. They're incredibly tall, that they're incredibly elegant.
We've got 300,000 people in Wellington, and I'm trying to find a pool of very tall, very beautiful, aged between 16 and 30, supermodel, available 24 hours for 2 years. Yeah, you go figure.
The Lorien elves are all kind of lightish colours, yeah.
All right, there we are.
And the Rivendell elves are dark, so that's definitely light and grey and then dark and green, I think.
And we're sick of them, quite frankly. Tall, slim, attractive people. We're sick of them, aren't we?
We're totally sick of them.
And the pointed ears, you have to remember that, you know, you can't get in unless you've got these lovely pointed ears. You know, they're a requirement.
I've always wanted to have pointy ears. Of course I wanted to work with Peter, and of course I love the books, but I was interested in being part of something which had that fantastical element.
I have about an hour to have my ears put on, and they're unbelievably amazing. They're gelatin, so you can only actually use them once. If it were to rain, they would basically melt away.
There's been so much discussion about elves. You know, there's a book on elves, I swear. In many ways, they're the angels of the story, and constantly searching for that, the aura in the elves.
I play Galadriel, who's the Lady of Light. Because she is the Queen of the Elves and the elves are passing over, they are moving on beyond Middle-earth to the Grey Havens. There's a sadness, a bittersweetness about what Galadriel and her kind are going through. And she's handing on the torch to men, to humankind. And I think that in a lot of ways she's challenging the viewers to say, what are you going to do with the Earth? What are you going to do with Middle-earth? We've had this paradise, so now you men, you humankind, have the responsibility of this Earth. I think it's a very profound message.
We've gone to great pains to make sure that all the languages and pronunciations of the names and place names in the movies is as authentic and real as it can possibly be.
And it's Gandalf, not Gandalf. It's Gandalf. It is Saruman. It is Theoden, not Theoden. If the writer writes it down and then explains to you at the end that this is the way you pronounce something, and you have to get it right.
The Elvish has been really extraordinary for me. It's such a beautiful language. One of the things that Tolkien says in the book is that their speaking and their singing voices sound like bells chiming. Just kind of rolls off the tongue and has lots of really beautiful sounds.
It completely blows me away. I'm just astonished at the time-consuming construction of these languages is just astonishing. One believes that it is a language. I mean, it's extraordinary to think of one man put all that together.
In the movies, you'll hear a little bit of Dwarvish spoken. There's of Elvish, both Sindarin and Quenya is spoken quite extensively with subtitles.
I wish all my lines were in Elvish, because I really love it. Lau hirnin udalani riu anirach nui lu guanad uin gwaithlin. And that means, no, my lord, winter has not yet come. Would you before your time leave your people?
And when
all the characters come to Rivendell. One of the reasons why the council is called is to work out where the ring has been for all these years and to try and find out what they're going to do with the ring, because the ring is in their possession.
You have my sword.
And you have my bow.
And my axe.
Tolkien goes to great pains to describe the worlds of hobbits and of elves and of dwarves and of men, and they're all different. The Fellowship of the Ring is a group of these different people who now have a common goal. It's interesting to explore the different attitudes that they have to each other.
Today I'm painting a set of Gimli's prosthetics. He's going to be in sometime this afternoon, so we can glue these on him.
Speaking on behalf of the dwarves, there are those that see our attempts to earn an honest living by delving in the earth and transmuting it into beautiful things. There are those that are jealous of our culture and would doubtless say that that means that we are materialistic and greedy. Well, so we are materialistic. And it's a proper way for a dwarf to be.
Hello, sir.
Another career completely.
Dwarves have always taken from the earth. They've gone in and they've mined for anything, for precious stones, to create these great huge halls and these places of beauty to them.
Gimli is delighted to take his companions through the mines of Moria, as it gives them a chance to show off the wealth, the engineering skills, and the architecture of his people.
The mines of Moria to Gimli is like the most incredible thing in the world.
It was built by the dwarves. It was celebrated as the most magnificent dwarven structure.
I mean, to think that not only a city, basically a country underground, when the dwarves were actually living there, I'm sure it would have been an absolutely incredible thing to see.
Moria now is this really dark, dirty, scary place.
We're in the bowels of hell when we're in the mines of Moria.
Just try and make it a little smoother through that area as the middle of the shot.
And of course, when he gets there, he finds that the rumors that the dwarves of Moria have suffered a calamity are true.
I think it's something that Peter Jackson does extraordinarily well in terms of creating that cinematic landscape of darkness and fear.
They are coming.
So, I mean, I don't think that Lord of the Rings is a film that should have been made by somebody who didn't really understand special effects, because it would have been very easy for the effects to overwhelm the story.
The vision for the film, that it was meant to be very much realistic, that any creature that would have border on fantasy based on what it was still going to be as much as possible flesh and blood, based on real things in nature.
Cave Troll, for instance, you know, right down to his fingernails that look like they're cracked and broken and dirty, and his skin has little bumps and warts on it and discoloring, and he has dirt that's gone into all his little cracks and crevices.
The wise wizards, my character, Gandalf, and his opponent and ex-colleague, Saruman, played by Christopher Lee. We are superhumans in our abilities and are sent down from above, from an unnamed power, to protect and care for Middle-earth.
And Saruman is very definitely the most brilliant, the most powerful, with the greatest intellect and the greatest knowledge.
Gandalf is purely on the side of good, and Saruman, I'm afraid, betrays the trust of the powers above, and so a central part of the story of the films is a battle between the two wizards.
A lot of the struggle in Lord of the Rings between the good and the evil is also the struggle between and respect for nature, as represented by the elves, and the abuse of nature by the orcs and Sauron and Saruman, forces of evil.
Amazing. It's the first night on Lord of the Rings that we've got a whole pile of orcs on, so we're very excited. It's the product of 2 years' work. So you won't be clapping by morning, but hey.
A lot of very evil characters, the orcs, the Uruk-hai, who are Saruman's followers.
We don't like trees, okay? We hate trees. So we're going to show you how an orc would chop wood. Okay, the most important thing to remember is that nothing straightens up, okay? It's always lots of tension and all these angles, straight square angles, okay? Dan, come forward. Okay, and back. Go down to an orc, right? Okay, and come in and attack your piece of room.
Get it over the back and clear nose.
We made the orcs very ugly. They don't have any sense of beauty or elegance. They just represent a crude ugliness.
We had a very, very intense training period. 90% of us are all martial arts. And you look down the list, it's all black belt, black belt, black belt. Yeah, a real bunch of athletes. Yeah.
And action.
Every army in the film has its own specific weaponry. It's all pre-firearm.
Beautiful. Pump action crossbow.
Our design philosophy across all of the weapons is that at no time did we want our design work to become fantastical. This isn't a Conan the Barbarian style film. You've got to feel that Middle-earth is real, that these items are functional. We have tried to pick up on these very strong industrial analogies through the brutal crudeness of the forms that make up the Uruk-hai and the orc armor, the repetitive, mass-produced nature.
Okay, another one. Another one.
This is chainmail. Lots of it. This is a Moria orc suit that I'm working on at the moment. There's 13,000 rings in one of these suits when it's finished. Lots of different types of finishes, from silver to gold to steel, copper. And there's a day's work there.
It's rare in films to have people, giving you so much to work with. It's a treat to have that much detail.
Is Richie going to run a bit of smoke in the BG?
A lot of work has gone into the detail to give this richness to the story. We need to give richness to the cultures, and to do that, it comes through in their design styles. We've made everything in this, every prop. Windows, doors. It's easy to recognise things as being German or Italian or English, but we are doing as much the same sort of thing with the Middle-earth cultures.
Richard Taylor is right to say that culture is an assemblage of detail in a given cultural framework, which can be either fairly loose or fairly tight, depending on how evolved it is. You have no detail that's out of place or out of character, and if you concentrate on these details, they will lead you down the path to actually defining this culture.
start by making a noise. We want you, because you're not human beings, you are animals. You're more thuggish and gorilla-like.
Black Riders, or the ring rats as they're also known. They were once kings and have since fallen into the legion of Sauron and basically work for him to attain the ring and return it to its master.
You're not scared of spiders?
Not at all.
And you don't mind a big spider crawling down there? Because what I figured would be nice is that we're in the middle of all this bug stuff. He looks down and there's this big spider just crawling over his shoulder.
No.
Well, yeah, I thought it was really cute.
Pete had this incredible idea, which was that when the hobbits are on the wooded road and they jump under a log because the Black Rider is coming, not only are the hobbits scared, but also everything around the Black Rider is affected by his evilness.
Get off the road!
The Black Riders are one of the most memorable things of the book. I think a lot of people that read the book remember the Black Riders, particularly the scene where the hobbits have to hide. They're scary. They're the sort of things of which nightmares are made from.
The most worked character is the ring race, over and above anything else that we did. Those costumes that you see as a big black shroud are so complex underneath structurally, and there's over 50 meters of fabric in each one of them. It thrills me beyond belief to see those ring race on screen.
The concept of the Black Riders is creepy. The fact that these creatures are solely attempting to find the ring which Frodo has in his possession. So they are purposely after Frodo Baggins. The hobbits have a quality of life that they wish to preserve, as do the elves, as do the dwarves of Middle-earth. And that is under threat by Sauron and his armies of orcs, which are encroaching into their world. That not only do they represent enslavement or maybe death, they also represent the destruction of everything that the people in this world love. More so than just being a straight struggle of good and evil, it is a struggle over loving the values of your world and being prepared to fight to the death to protect them.
I wish the ring had never come to me.
Back, you devils!
There is evil there that does not sleep.
The portrayal of evil in the movie has been very influenced by what Tolkien wrote. I have a very, very strong affection and respect for the material.
Pete has had such a love for the book for so long. He's just completely immersed in the imagery and the mythology of Tolkien, you know.
Well, what can you say about a man who's making 3 movies simultaneously? He's an amazing guy. He's cool as an elf. He's got the heart of a hobbit, and he's mad like a wizard.
The endearing thing about Pete is that he's a hobbit.
Peter is a hobbit, isn't he?
He's a New Zealander. You'll see Peter jump out of a helicopter in knee-deep snow, and he's got shorts on and bare feet. He's in remarkable shape for somebody that looks like a hobbit.
All right, and action. Just be sort of waving your sword and look aggressive.
I don't think any other director would be more suitable to do Lord of the Rings.
The films that we're making really come from my vision of the world in collaboration with all the other people that I'm working with.
Total, complete and utter dedication. I don't think I've ever come across greater involvement in the subject in a film or a production of any kind.
It's the only way to do it, you know? It's by filming it over such a long span of time. Because in that way, your journey making the movie, traveling around New Zealand and going to all these remote locations, the trudgery that you have to go through would mirror the journey that the characters would take in the film.
The films, they are very much a labour of love, made by fans of the book. And hopefully the films will contain something of the complexity and the magic and the themes of Tolkien's world.
It's something that will be passed on from generation to generation. So many people have said how they wanted to be part of this because it is historic. They know it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience.